Welcome to Essentials of Acute Care. I am Dr. Sunil Garg, and today I am going to discuss an interesting and unrecognized issue in critical ill patient. This issue is pertinent to those who manage patients on renal replacement therapy. Here is the case: a 53-year-old male who presented with the chest pain, breathlessness, and profuse sweating to the emergency department. His past history was relevant for hypertension, for which he was not receiving any kind of treatment. He collapsed in the emergency department soon after arrival. He was immediately resuscitated. Restoration of the spontaneous circulation achieved, intubated, ventilated, and shifted to intensive care unit. He was started on sedation and paralysis. ECG and echocardiography revealed severe left ventricular hypertrophy. There was no active evidence of the coronary ischemia based on ECG, echocardiography, and the laboratory investigations. His hemoglobin was 8.9 gram percent with a raised total cell count and normal neutrophils. His creatinine value was high and blood urea 67, serum sodium 133 and potassium 5.2. His sugar value was normal as a liver function test, and on the basis of urine protein creatinine ratio, he was having clinical albuminuria. His anti-proBNP value was very high, and I want to emphasize here to draw any firm conclusion on the basis of this high value of the anti-proBNP on the face of the high creatinine value is difficult. Procalcitonin value was 3 nanogram, D-dimer 2578 nanogram, and his ultrasonography KUV region was normal. Lung ultrasound revealed the presence of bilaterally marked pleural effusion with the diffuse V lines in the both lung fields. Here is chest X-ray. This is the obliteration of the right CP angle, and here you can see there are opacities in the bilateral lung fields in batwing distribution. This is the initial blood gas, venous blood gas, where pH is 6.95, potassium is 5.2, calcium is 1.18 millimole per liter, glucose 321 milligram per deciliter, and lactate value is 4.8 millimole per liter. This is initial ECG. Here you can see patient has tachycardia. It is sinus tachycardia. Here you can see P wave followed by QRS complex, again P wave followed by QRS complex, and PR duration is 125 millisecond, QRS duration is 81 millisecond, and corrected QTC is 397 millisecond. For him, the working diagnosis of the hypertensive heart failure with acute on chronic kidney disease, fluid overload, and suspected uremic lung and pneumonia was made. He was initiated on the intravenous ceftriaxone, mechanical ventilation, and continuous renal replacement therapy in view of anuria with pulmonary edema in combination with acidosis. His airway pressures were high and lung compliance was very poor. It was around 15 ml per centimeter of water. Over the period of next 3 weeks, he improved significantly. Ventilatory requirement decreased significantly, but he was still on the CRRT for pulmonary congestion as he was still anuric. His anti-proBNP decreased significantly from his initial value of more than 11,000 to 2,136 picogram per ml, and his procalcitonin normalized. He was conscious and responding to the commands. One day, while we were managing him, he developed bradycardia during positioning on bed, and it was spontaneously reverted within few seconds. So it was ignored, but on the subsequent day, he developed drowsiness and confusion, and which was attributed to ICU delirium. On the same day, patient developed bradycardia and hypotension again, and it was managed with the atropine and the adrenaline. We did the ECG, and it did not reveal even any evidence of active coronary ischemia. Here you can see patient's ECG subsequent to cardiac event of bradycardia and hypotension. This patient has sinus tachycardia with the heart rate of 101, PR interval is 158 millisecond, and corrected QTC interval is 344 millisecond. This is a patient ABG subsequent to the event of bradycardia and hypotension. Patient's pH is 7.50, PO2 value is 65 mm of mercury. He was on mechanical ventilator with 40% oxygen, sodium 135 millimole per liter, calcium 1.59 millimole per liter, hematocrit 20%, glucose value 181 milligram per deciliter, and lactate value is 0.5 millimole per liter. Did you notice anything significant in this ABG? So what are the likely possibilities in our patient in the given scenario which can explain the presence of bradycardia, hypotension and altermentation? We looked at the possibility of primary cardiac disease and the neurological disease, but there were no such evidences. We also considered ICU delirium, but ICU delirium is a diagnosis of exclusion. Moreover, on the basis of ICU delirium, it is difficult to explain the presence of bradycardia and hypotension. We were trying to explain both cardiological and the neurological symptoms with one diagnosis. So we looked at the possibility of hypoxia in our patient. His PO2 was 65 mm of mercury. The PO2 value of 65 mm of mercury cannot explain the bradycardia and hypotension with altermentation in our patient. We looked at other causes. Do you have any idea what other evidences are available in our patient? Could it be hypercalcemia in our patient? Now let us look at the possibility of hypercalcemia in our patient. He developed altered cognition which consisted of drowsiness and confusion. He also developed bradycardia and cardiac arrest-like situation associated with hypotension twice. And his serum calcium, ionized serum calcium increased to 1.6 millimole per liter from the initial value of 1.18 millimole per liter. And his corrected QT interval decreased from 0.397 second to 0.344 second. Hypercalcemia can affect every organ system in the body, and the severity of the symptoms depends on serum calcium level and the rate of the rise of serum calcium level. In terms of its effects, it causes confusion, lethargy, and coma as a brain effect, polyuria, dehydration, and renal stone on the kidney, and on the gut, it causes constipation, nausea, anorexia, pancreatitis, and gastric ulcer. And in terms of the cardiac effects, it causes short QT interval, which can lead to different kind of arrhythmias. So why our patient developed hypercalcemia? Since his baseline calcium level was normal. So what led to the development of hypercalcemia in our patient? Though it could be multifactorial, we believe hypercalcemia in our patient was because of dialysate fluid, which we were using for continuous renal replacement therapy with calcium content of 1.75 millimole per liter. In terms of treatment, we could not do saline hydration in our patient as initial treatment because of presence of cardiac and renal failure both. Calcitonin was not available with us. Regarding use of bisphosphonate and denosumab, they were not preferred agent in this setting in view of time they take to reduce calcium, and additionally bisphosphonate is relatively contraindicated in renal failure. Here it is important to understand that our patient did not present with hypercalcemia on admission, but he developed hypercalcemia during hospitalization, and the cause of it likely due to dialysate fluid. So as a part of his treatment, we started him on dialysate fluid with low calcium content of 1.25 millimole per liter. We believe the most likely cause of symptoms in our patient, which consisted of bradycardia, hypotension, and altered mentation, was hypercalcemia. We changed the dialysate fluid calcium content from 1.75 millimole per liter to 1.25 millimole per liter in our patient, and within few hours his serum calcium ionized calcium level decreased to 1.24 millimole per liter. Here you can see his corrected QT interval increased to 410 millisecond. With the attainment of normal calcium level, our patient improved, his neurological status improved, and we did not notice any more events of bradycardia during positioning. Thanks for watching the video. If you have any concern or query, you can write it to me. Thanks.